Right now, I'm joined by Congressman from California, Robert Garcia. He is the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee and a friend to this show. It's good to see you again, sir. So, first on these protests outside the detention center in New Jersey. Your colleague, Senator Andy Kim, was pepper sprayed by officers. Local officials are trying to balance how to manage the outcry over detainee treatment and not giving ICE a reason to overstep. You have Secretary of Homeland Security Markwayne Mullin, who disputes all the allegations and accusations that the conditions are inhumane. So what can be done to address this situation?
Look, if they're going to pepper spray one of the most peaceful and kind members of the U.S. Senate, they're going to be pepper spraying a whole bunch of folks who are peacefully protesting and being much too aggressive. At the end of the day, vast majority of the folks that are coming out are there peacefully. They are trying to bring attention to the horrific conditions of what's actually happening inside. They're trying to bring attention to the fact that people with no criminal records are being held, some with no explanation to their families. And so it is important to highlight the real atrocities that are happening within ICE and DHS, but of course doing it in a way that's peaceful. And so I commend Senator Kim. I commend the other members of Congress who are out there getting access, talking to people inside. And we've been doing that across the country. Look, the reality is that many of us, when we have tried to visit these detention centers, we get denied. I was denied months ago trying to visit a center here in Los Angeles. And so it's only been through the courts where we've been pushing for more action and access.
Let's talk about the Senate Republicans who left town, ditching plans to support a measure funding Trump's $70 billion immigration crackdown. It was over their opposition to the $1.8 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund. That fund is now under increased scrutiny by the courts, and it's temporarily blocked from making any payouts. How will Congress work through this divide when it returns this week?
Well, I hope they realize, and the American public certainly does, that this is the most corrupt administration and the most corrupt president in the history of this country. And that slush fund is at the top of the list of the most corrupt things that he has done. I mean, $1.8 billion that he can then, by the way, that he negotiated with himself. He is the government. He negotiated that with himself so that he can give out to election deniers, to January 6ers that attacked law enforcement and our Capitol, so his family could possibly benefit from that fund as well. I mean, just insanity. The president right now is doing things that are so corrupt and in the open public that people are finally starting to see the truth. Republicans are finally starting to push back. Look, what's really embarrassing is that Mike Johnson has yet to say nothing. The Speaker of the House has yet to condemn this fund and is essentially running away from the press because it doesn't want to be asked questions about the slush fund that Donald Trump is trying to create for himself. And I'm glad that the courts are finally coming in and slowing down this massive corruption.
All right, let's dig into this New York Times report about it, because it says that Trump's private attorney, Boris Epshteyn, and others quietly negotiated that 1776 fund, the one you're referring to, 1.8, but those are the specific numbers. They did so with Justice Department officials as a way to escape the judge's scrutiny that Trump, to your point, was on both sides of his $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS, which, of course, he oversees. A judge is now asking both parties if they deceived her. Do you think they did? And will Congress have any success stepping in and stopping this deal from happening?
Of course they deceived her. And look, let's be really clear. Does anyone for a minute, does anyone not believe that Donald Trump wasn't aware of the deal that was being created here by his own folks? I mean, he, of course, sues the government that he's in charge of for the initial billions of dollars, the IRS, and then settles to create a fund for himself that he can give out to whoever he wants, including likely members of his inner circle and family. This is just pure corruption. And so finally, people are waking up, even in the Republican Party. You're starting to hear some of them come out. And look, as it relates to Democrats, we have legislation that we filed. We're supporting multiple bills to stop these types of funds, but it goes beyond that. We've not only got to stop these funds, we've got to stop the illegal and corruption in the pardon system that Donald Trump is doing, how he enriches himself off these crypto schemes that he's putting in place where people just dump foreign money, how his sons continue to benefit for his company as they do real estate deals in countries that he's doing diplomacy in or trying to. And so the level of corruption are reasons why oversight's so engaged in investigating, why we're going to be investigating any person that accepts these funds, we're going to investigate. And surely the judge is right. This fund's got to be stopped.
Let's pivot to what you and a group of Oversight Committee members did, which was question former Attorney General Pam Bondi about her handling of the Epstein files this week. And she has since come out refuting your claim that she deflected responsibility to her then deputy, Todd Blanche. She posted on X, quote, "Not true. I praised acting AG Blanche's management of this Herculean task. I said his ethics are beyond reproach and that he is an incredible Attorney General." Can you explain here that you said, she said? What did she bring to your investigation?
Well, first, there wouldn't even have to be a back and forth if James Comer had accepted our request to ensure the interview would be videotaped, released to the public, and under oath. But instead, he wants to be part of this cover-up. And so they refused to allow her to be videotaped. So now, of course, Pam Bondi is trying to say certain things. Look, they should release the transcript. She deflected to Todd Blanche and essentially said that he was in charge of the files over 30 times. I mean, maybe she had one line where she said good things about him, but over 30 times. She actually talked about, well, no, it was Todd Blanche who was in charge of the files. It was Todd Blanche who was in charge of the redactions. It was Todd Blanche that worked out the deal for Ghislaine Maxwell, or that was involved in that, not me, not Pam Bondi. And so I think it's pretty comical that she's trying to play a little bit cleanup. And let's also remember that during that entire interview, sitting next to her was a top Department of Justice lawyer that was whispering in her ear, Harmy Dillon, that was telling her, oh, don't answer that. And Alex, I asked Pam Bondi 5 different questions about Donald Trump, what he knew about the files, if he directed her, a variety of things. She wouldn't answer a single question about Donald Trump. In fact, she would say, I'm not going to answer questions about President Trump. And the lawyer would chime in and say, we're not answering questions about Donald Trump. Give me a break. He's at the center. He's in the files almost more than anybody else. And we're not going to stop till we get the truth.
When do you think we'll get the transcript of the Pam Bondi?
I hope in the next few days. It should have been released the day of, and it should have been videotaped. But that transcript needs to come out. And you'll see that the amount of time she deflected to Todd Blanche, the amount of time she wouldn't answer questions, refusing to answer anything about President Trump, and the DOJ lawyer, highly unethical, by the way, for there to be a DOJ lawyer now representing a former AG, telling her and stopping her from answering questions about President Trump. Very interesting.
Congressman Garcia, you always bring the interesting stuff. Thank you very much. Good to see you.